Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the morning show.
Morning.
Feels like
Joe,
we're late.
we are late. We are late. I'm sorry. Uh, Schedule's been really hectic, and I just have no excuse other than the fact that there's just not enough hours to get everything done. And you know what? We really have to dive into some heavy topics. Jeff sent some information about some stuff. Joe's got a video out, and there's a couple things that I want to bring up as well that are going on. We need to congratulate Team USA on their victory over in the Czech Republic, and we need to congratulate Team USA in the motorcycles for their second place finish. The ATVs are carrying the flag for the Americans in winning, and we just need to pat them on the back and say thank you and congratulations.
Very cool accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
Think-
sixth time. And we won it
Yeah, they've
six.
won every time they've been over there, other than the COVID years when they weren't able to attend, I think it was.
Yeah, they didn't go because of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
See, look, I mean, you give these guys 15 dirt bikes to choose from. They become complacent and get second. We barely have one quad, and we win.
Yeah, we went on a production machine against hybrids. So we could have that hybrid argument, talking about should we or shouldn't we, but the production bike's beating the aftermarket or beating the aftermarket machine. Right?
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Bring on the hybrids.
But if the hybrids aren't better, why are we not running them?
That's what I'm saying. We should be. Why not?
Yeah,
Break it up.
but the production bike's beating the hybrid.
That's okay. That's okay. At least then we get to see something besides blue bikes on the line at a national.
Well,
I mean, we love the blue bikes, but competition.
uh, I'm not going to disagree, but I'm going to disagree. If you can't beat if the production bikes are beating the aftermarket bikes, why should we even consider it?
But the fear of having hybrid bikes is that they'll just dominate the production bikes, and then everybody will have to build hybrid bikes, which will drive up the cost. But really, how much will it drive up the cost at this point? Because these guys, you've got 10 guys putting 11 grand in a 450 stock engine, in a production YFZ. You might as well build a hybrid.
Well, why don't we limit the cost of these machines or these engines and do it that way and then continue to run the production? Jeff, you can chime in anytime. I know you have an argument for this.
I was just gonna say I'm all for hybrid as long as it brings back two strokes and they're
Oh,
allowed to compete. I love the YFZ. Kudos to Yamaha for continuing to make these machines. It doesn't bother me that 95% of the machines out on the national tracks are Yamahas. So, but two strokes, there's a good argument to be had right there. Look at that. I don't know if you saw the last issue that we had out with Daryl Rath, the KTM 300 that he put into a Yamaha chassis. That's a pretty wild build, and that would do great if it ever made it, something like that for uh, a stock machine, KTM. Yamaha, bring us a two-stroke now.
well, the whole argument for not doing hybrids is the fact that it'll drive up the cost and that they'll dominate. So saying they can't win, so why not let them compete? It's kind of a mute point because half the point is they'll dominate. So if they're not dominating, that kills that whole argument. So why not?
You know what? When you have logic like that, Joe, I guess I can't compete with it and I'm going to have to concede. But we can't get away from Yamaha. Maybe Yamaha would just come out with a better production machine and then it would make it even harder for the hybrid market. I'll just put this out there. I heard a rumor, and it's all rumor, and I've told both of you guys that what I've heard about them putting the motorcycle engine in the production chassis for the ATV. It's a rumor, probably no facts to it, but if they did something like that, that just blows your hybrid beliefs right out of the market.
I think this whole show pretty much is going to be a lot of speculation and hype, but that's cool because there's some exciting hype coming in the industry right now. But I think the big challenge for Yamaha, if they try to put the dirt bike engine into the ATV, is that they're going to have to get it green stickered. I'm not an engine designer. I don't work at at these manufacturers. I can only imagine what pain they're going through trying to keep bikes compliant and out there in the wild. But the dirt bikes don't have that problem, because they're red sticker closed course competition bikes. You can't hardly buy a Yamaha dirt bike in California. They need trail bikes. So, can they drop that new engine into an ATV chassis and make it green sticker compliant?
I think it'd be easier to get rid of the California government.
Yeah, but the green sticker, red sticker thing is nationwide. I mean, obviously, Yamaha at this point can't get the YFZ 450R or the WR or the YZ 450X. Dirt bikes, they can't get them compliant for California. But in the rest of the country, outside of California, you still have to have ATVs green sticker EPA compliant. That's outside of CARB. I mean, CARB is the overreaching. I don't know what the word is, but they're overbearing.
It's just the hand of the communist government.
Okay, yeah, the Gestapo, whatever.
I mean, they're falsely arguing. Their argument is that we're polluting the planet falsely, and somebody needs to put them in their place. But I'm just a little bitty peon, so I'm not that guy.
Well, I think I sent you guys some info. There has been some inroads on the whole red sticker, green sticker program for competition use, so they can still use the YFZ Raptor or whatever in California for competition use only on private tracks. So maybe that's something that'll snowball into something else down the road.
Well, hopefully Gavin Gruesome will sign it.
Yeah, that's the only, it's past everything else. It would be, we'll see if he doesn't veto that. But
well, we can speculate all we want on that, but there's other things going on in the industry and in the world that we need to talk about. Joe, you have a video out. Jeff, you've sent us some other information on a possible new machine coming from Yamaha. You've also sent us some information that the government's trying to ban CF Moto.
I read through that further. If you want to get on the CF Moto thing, it has to do with the software and their GPS programming, that it has relates to China and some of what they're using, what the bug that's in that software, creating an issue. The ban doesn't actually take effect till 2027, so they got a couple of years to fix that. So I don't see that being a big deal.
So it's not banning the machines, it's banning the software in their GPS. So if we get rid of the GPS, then we can still have the machine.
Or change the GPS or the software. It sounds like it'll be a relatively easy fix. But they're not the only ones affected. I heard, I was talking to Kane, and he heard that Can-Am might have something affected in their GPS software also. I don't think it affects Polaris Ride Command system at all. I'm not real. I just kind of briefed over it. But it sounds like it's something that's fixable.
Is this a publication or an article published in Dirt Wheels?
No, we're still kind of studying it and waiting for some feedback from CF Moto on what's going on. The information we got was online.
Okay,
from another publication.
From another publication. So we will be getting some information from Dirt Wheels in the future that it'll dive into this deeper and give us some more specifics exactly what's going on.
Yes, with, comments from the manufacturers that are affected.
Okay. Okay. Then I guess we can transition over to talking about the Outlander a little bit in Joe's video and see how it's going because it dropped on Monday, right?
It did. We're gonna, we'll be 10,000 views deep today. When we launched, Lenny, we went late, but that's okay because it's all scripted and voiced over. It's just hard to hit it and be the first one out when you're trying to hit every detail and you're pretty much scripting and recording the whole review. So, it is what it is, but we're out and that video is doing good. I think over time it's going to perform very well. We're running down the competition and we'll be making some passes in the next 48 hours. So, yeah.
Well, it was my first experience going to something like that, and I had a great time. You and I have talked behind the scenes a lot, Joe, that there are things that we could have done different to make it better and better. And I've learned a lot about what you guys actually do in making videos and reporting stories. So not that I want to do that, but helping you guys do it better is something that I'm interested in. And for the listeners, they really ought to go and check out Joe's video on ATV On Demand on this machine. It's very informative. There's also a video out on Dirt Wheels with Kane Schmid. But Joe gets into the specifics of the Outlander. Joe, brought up a great point last night that I really want to touch on. This machine's also going to come out most likely in the Renegade next year. What do you think the differences other than plastic will be? Do you think they'll change the suspension?
Oh yeah, definitely. Historically, the Outlander and the Renegade have shared the same chassis, same engine. I believe, and don't quote me on this because I might be wrong, but I believe essentially the engine is identical. I don't even know that they really make any clutching changes. I've ridden the two bikes back to back. The Gen 2s, not the Gen 3, not the new Outlander. They both have a very grabby clutch feeling off the bottom. They feel very similar, the power characteristic. Obviously, the Outlander is a little heavier since it's built with racks and bumpers and things like that weigh more than what you get on a Renegade 1000. So, but essentially the chassis and the engines are virtually identical historically. Now, suspension and plastic is obviously where they really, differ a little bit because the Outlanders are probably sprung a little, maybe either they're sprung softer or they just feel that way because, the machine weighs more and then the valving is a little different. Renegade is all about less body roll, going faster, but, historically, that chassis has been pretty good. Our biggest complaints with it have always been like once the terrain starts to get rough and whooped out and you slam that back into a G out, it didn't matter for us in our testing of these machines to the past. We got our hands on them for the first time back in 19 or 20 when they made the last update to the Gen 2 where they widened it and redid the suspension. And the back ends were a little unsettled. If you hit a G out, the back end would compress, bottom kick. You can stiffen the suspension up all you want. If you hit it hard enough, you'll blow through the travel. And even Cody Collier's bike that has custom axis shocks, those I watched him slam into some really harsh stuff and the back end still kicked. You never heard it go metal to metal like the stock shocks. Because it's set up not to bottom harshly with him the way he rides like an animal. But yeah, the main difference is suspension tuning. We'll be getting a Gen 3 Outlander in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. We still have our Renegade that we dropped a test on for 24 3 months ago. And we'll be comparing the Gen 3 Outlander to the current Renegade platform. obviously, comparing Outlander to Renegade, you're comparing apples to oranges a little bit. I don't know what other fruit might be in the apple family. Orange certainly isn't. Maybe it's like comparing apples to pears. I don't know, but the Outlander will be a little heavier. The base tune of the Renegade suspension will be a little stiffer, but for educational purposes, I think running these two machines together is going to really drive home the changes that they've made in the chassis design and the engine design. We've got a lot of experience testing four-wheelers, so we'll be able to separate out a little bit, the added weight of the Outlander, the difference in suspension tune. But I think based upon your feedback on the machine, everything we've seen in the video that we got back from you guys, that the Outlander Gen 3 is a big step forward for them, and I think it's going to be a big step forward on Renegade. And we'll have some gauge of how different it's going to be when we get these two bikes together.
I was having a conversation yesterday while we were working at the shop, and one of the biggest complaints that they were talking about was clutch noise in all of your older versions of the Can-Am and the Polaris, where when you put it in gear, it would clunk and make noise, and then all the clutch rattle that you would get from when you were just riding the machine. And as I told you, there's almost none of that when you're riding this Outlander. You're not getting clutch noise. You do have noises from the machine as you will any machine as you go through the bumps, but nothing like they're explaining to me in the old stuff. Do you think that Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki are also looking at this and designing their machines so that they'll have less clutch noise?
I don't know. I don't know that Yamaha really has a lot of clutch noise. Yamaha and Can-Am are being a little different. Can-Am now has the P drive in their clutching, which normally a CVT, they're just the clutch is kind of just sliding over on metal rails. Now they have roller bearings in the Can-Am, which have really smoothed it out. I was shocked how good that clutch was last year on the 500, 700. I haven't had the opportunity like you to ride the 1000 with the P drive in it, but I mean, obviously testing UTVs side by sides, we saw a big improvement in clutching with the P drive. I'm sure it's going to be like that on the Outlander. Plus, they spiral bevel cut the gears in the differentials. They did a lot of things to quiet that bike down as far as just noise. When you've got differentials though, and you've got 4 axles and all these connecting points in the drivetrain, there's going to be sounds that you wouldn't typically hear out of a chain-driven sport quad. Yamaha, obviously, they're using a centrifugal clutch beyond their CVT. So, Yamahas have notoriously been smooth. I don't really find the CVT to be incredibly noisy. And really in most bikes, unless you're squealing a belt or something. But, the Yamaha uses a centrifugal clutch. To me, it's more about the feel than the sound. And we'll see when I get the new one. I'm pretty dialed into that. So it's kind of a surprise to hear that's a major complaint. Maybe Jeff's got some thoughts on that.
On the Yamaha side, having spent a lot of time in the RMAX, which is a similar CVT setup as what they use in the ATVs, that the Yamaha CVT transmission feels the closest to a direct drive transmission of all the different machines to me. I think there's some kind of constant belt tension there. It also has to do with why they offer a 10-year belt warranty, limited warranty on all of their CVT driven machines.
10-year. Yeah. Did you say that again?
I was just going to say the belt tension is constant on the Yamahas. Most CVTs, when you get to idle, the tension's taken off the belt, and the belt's just kind of hanging out. And then obviously once you start to engage, once you start to hit the throttle, all of a sudden pressure on the belt grabs. The Yamahas don't disengage the belt. The belt's under constant tension, and that initial feed-in is handled by a separate centrifugal clutch. So yeah, no belt lash on the Yamahas. They're just butter.
Yeah, and
But
I don't have any numbers to give you as far as, the horsepower and stuff, but the traditional CVT transmission, you can lose up to 30% of your horsepower, with that rubber belt. And I think Yamaha, if I had to guess, I would say Yamaha has actually mastered that with the least amount of loss of horsepower in a CVT with that belt that's just always connected. And yeah, the power is very controllable, even off idle, at slower speeds. It doesn't really jump on you like that. They've put a lot into their CVT technology for sure.
yeah, the one thing Yamaha does try to get us to do at intros, and it's always kind of funny, is they're like, "Oh, you don't have to shift it into low range. Just crawl up that hill and high. It'll do it."
Yeah.
I'm like, wait. And then I'm like, well, wait, doesn't that put extra wear and tear on the clutch? Well, kinda. Okay. How hard is it to change that centrifugal clutch? Oh, it's a pain. Oh, so even if you ride a Yamaha, just a tip, it's got low range for a reason. If you're going prolonged, even though you won't cook a belt, if you're going prolonged, low speed, crawly, towy, that kind of stuff, use low range just like you would on a Polaris or a Can-Am or any other CVT, because you may not be wearing a belt, but you're wearing a clutch. I don't hear about people having a lot of problems with those Yamaha centrifugal clutches, so I have a feeling they're very durable. But if you're like me and you hate giving money to the dealer after you buy a machine, because they're expensive and they'll take it out of you, yeah, shift that thing down at low speed, even though you might think you don't need to. Your wallet will thank you.
Jeff, you also sent us some new information on a possible new machines coming from Yamaha. What do you think the reality of that is? And explain that a little bit.
I think there's a very, first off, I've presented well, let's start from the beginning. It's popped up. We scan the U.S. patent websites for, things that might be coming down the pipe constantly. And this particular machine from Yamaha, which is not exactly what I was looking for, I just stumbled upon it. We're always looking for 450s, what it is, which we've come up empty. But this particular machine is a sport 4x4 for sure. It does not have racks. It does not have a receiver for a hitch. It is a 4x4, and it has a lot of things that we haven't seen on 4x4 ATVs, especially sport 4x4 ATVs. The engine, at first we thought it was the MT-07 engine out of the Tenere, which would be a fantastic power plant for a Raptor-like engine or something like this. But then we got some new drawings. It looks more like either the 850 or the 1000 Wolverine RMAX engine. The engine in this chassis faces backwards so that the head and the cylinder are actually just ahead of the rear wheel. It has a floorboard that has raised. The back of the floorboard is actually raised. I think that would come in really handy for people that ride in the mud, when they're going through the mud bogs and they got the nose in the air. But I really see this machine being designed for GNCC racing, and even possibly, a long distance type desert build. It's definitely, from what we can see in the drawings, aimed at competing with the Renegade and the Scrambler. I think it's going to be pretty amazing, especially if they can keep the weight under the competition. What else? It's the latest drawings that we just put up this week actually show the plastic, which is very sporty looking, like a sport quad, like a 450 sport quad. It's very flat along the seat and the tank area, which is not actually the tank. It looks like the fuel tank is set way low in the cradle, below where you would find the fuel tank, and all of the relays and the EFI system is actually up in that regular tank area. What else have we seen on this machine? I saw some of the wording in the initial patent drawings showed 30-inch tires. We've even seen different versions, so maybe there will be a smaller version of the same machine. The bigger version has fully adjustable shocks with piggyback reservoirs, front and rear, 4-wheel disc brakes. What else have I got?
Do you think
I got it.
do you think they're trying to get away from the traditional sport quad and go with an all-wheel drive 4x4?
No. No, I think that they are trying to dominate all forms of GNCC racing. You know, they already do that on the sports side. This is aimed more at that pro 4x4 crowd, guys that, and it would be a fantastic machine for woods riding, although I believe it's going to be at least 50 inches wide or wider. They don't have any actual measurements in the drawings, and we can't, there's no wording that tells us exactly how wide it is. But the wheels come out much further than the actual footwells, which usually you find the wheels tucked underneath. There's not as much splash protection on this machine, which tells me that they're looking at definitely a competition type crowd to buy this thing. It's all about performance. So no, I don't see the YFZ or the Raptor going anywhere. I just see this becoming a new addition to the Yamaha line. I don't know that it's going to happen, but they keep on updating the drawings and the patent on this thing. Like they're moving forward to eventual production of this. I take that as a very positive sign. And when I've actually asked Yamaha about that, they just say, wouldn't that be nice, with a big grin on their face? You know, they're not denying that it's going to happen.
Yeah. The other thing I've heard him say is we patent lots of things and design lots of things that never come to market. Well, it's like, well, you guys are doing an awful lot of work on something and not bring it to market.
Yeah. It's constantly getting updated, and these most recent updates happened the beginning of October. So they are definitely moving forward with this.
So you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it in 25, but you could see it in 26.
I would say most likely, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe a late 2025 release. But yeah, I would assume possibly 2026. I'll go back to the YZ motor that I've heard that rumor from multiple sources also. The dirt bike motor going into the YFZ. And I've asked them about that too, and I got the same answer. Wouldn't that be nice, with a big toothy grin on their face?
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard too from them.
Yeah.
So answer me this question, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Jeff, and I apologize. You made a comment about Honda not releasing some of their information on some of their 2025 models. What is that all about?
I think these things are kind of related. Yeah, I'm hesitant to even bring this up. This is pure speculation, and also another rumor that I've heard going around some of the works racers, that includes somebody inside Honda, that the Honda Talon program is not exactly doing what Honda expected. Again, this is hearsay. It's a rumor. There is talk of them backing off of the Talon program, or the word I heard was scrapping it. Again, I don't know that this is factual, but along with that, they do have prototype 450s. I know that there's a steel frame EFI 450 and an aluminum frame EFI 450 at Honda. Supposedly those were pulled down off of the shelf, and they're giving those another look. Again, this is rumor. I can't confirm any of this. But it would make sense that nobody wants to see that Honda come back bigger than Yamaha, and they will tell you this because their engineers have all kinds of ideas for upgrades on the YFZ, and maybe that dirt bike part falls into that. These guys have spies in the industry. They know what each other is doing. So hopefully we are looking at a resurgence of, at least one other 450 coming back. And it's
I've been
big
telling you guys for months that the industry's too quiet and something's happening. And I really honestly believe it. Maybe it's not going to happen in 2025, but there's something going on out there that nobody's talking about. And the most likely contender to build a new machine is Honda. I don't think Kawasaki or Suzuki are in the ballpark for it. I definitely don't think Suzuki is, even though they could make some modifications to their LTR platform and instantly release it, and I think it would be competitive today.
Right.
With no real changes, make the tranny a little better, and put the upgrade to their uh, electrical sensors, and there you go. You got a machine that's competitive.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think Suzuki. I think Suzuki's still pissed that they got fined, and they don't even want to deal with it.
Yeah, something I didn't. I just Joe and I talked about this the other day. Can-Am got fined over the DS 450 too for the same reasons. They had a wire or something you could clip that would bring you know more about this than I do, Joe.
Yeah, from what I understand, and I've heard it third person, but yeah, I heard that Can-Am took it the year before Suzuki, and then Suzuki got it next because I think in the last year the DS 450s, the green wire had went away. I don't know if that
Yeah.
I don't think that was in existence to the entire production run of that machine. I think they ended up having to get rid of it. And then I heard that was the following year after they got it, Suzuki got it. And I don't know if that's because Can-Am finger pointed or the CPSC or the EPA just got around to Suzuki. But either way, yeah, that was a factor for both of those companies. I don't really think silence speaks anything when it comes to the sport quad market. We're 10 plus years out. We're 11 plus years out since these 450s all went away. So it's like there's no reason any of these companies should be talking about sport quads unless they're going to build one. So I just think it's like saying these companies aren't talking about three wheelers, so they're probably going to release some three wheelers. No, they're not. No, they're not. I just think, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And if silence speaks volumes, then we're about to get hit with a 450 from every manufacturer because none of them are talking about it at all.
No,
So,
but the difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying is there's always all these little rumors and all this talk going on and chatter, and the intel lines have ceased.
mm,
When the intel lines stop, when the rumor mill stops, something's going on, and that's all I'm saying is the rumor mill has stopped. They just quit putting out information that is generating little rumors.
so
So
that makes
there's
sense. You probably know some people that know some people that I don't know.
and yeah, there's no little rumors. There's none of these little stories popping up, that feeding you this little information or feeding you that little information. There's nothing. It's dead silent. And that just tells me that something's going to change. Um, you don't get many rumors about the Yamahas because they're still selling them. Other than I heard that they were going to put the dirt bike motor in there. Um, I don't know. Nothing's come up on the 700. It's pretty much staying the same because it's a solid platform. I believe more and more people are going to start rolling to the 700 in different environments because there's no other 450s, so they need something else. Um, I like that platform more and more the more that I get to hands on with it. I think it's a durable platform for your recreational riders to go ride trails or dunes. Smaller people may not like it as much, but with some modifications, you can make it more comfortable. I think that that's the recreational market's going to go to it, but I also think the endurance racer is going to go to it as well. And I don't mean cross country because the cross country guys have the 450. They dial that platform in. There may be some age categories that would go cross country that allow the 700, but they're not going to go mainstream with the XC1 or XC2 class.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't fit into the rules, and those guys are riding at a pace. They have a level of fitness, and they ride at a pace where, maybe the center of gravity would be a factor. But I mean, the age brackets, again, not to rehash old news, but we let a B class on a stock bike. So you can, it has the pace to win in classes because we had nothing except really a steering stabilizer and tires and rear bead lock wheels. I mean, that's not a built bike. That's a stock bike.
Right.
If you can though, I'd like to kind of talk, go back to this Yamaha thing that Jeff's talking about, because we were talking about it last night. And to me, if you look at the sport utility or the sport 4x4 segment, which up until this point, I mean, I guess if you could go back to the Wolverine 350, back in the day, Jeff, didn't the Wolverine, do you remember that machine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't it share some of its DNA with Yamaha's, like, for recreation utility 4x4 lineup? Wasn't it like kin to the Big Bear or something?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at all
Okay,
that.
fair enough. That bike sort of predated my time in the industry. Although I was still paying attention, that bike wasn't really on my radar. I thought it was cool, but that bike seemed like it had a lot in common with Yamaha's utility machines made more sporty. If you look at the Can-Am Renegade, these are machines that are built to be sport utility machines. And then really what they do, like I was saying earlier, really what they do to turn them into sport 4x4s is they strip off the racks, they put a firmer tuned suspension on it, they put some lower profile plastic on it. They call it a sport machine. It's really not a whole lot different than what Dirt Tracks has done. And man, they've done a really cool build. They're in the middle of another one. I have to jump back into their channel and see what it's like. But a few years ago, Dirt Tracks took a Grizzly 700, shaved the fenders down, put Elka shocks on it, put B-lock wheels on it, put better tires on it, put better handlebars on it. They even put, I think, a YFZ 450 bumper on the front of the thing. So they built basically a Raptor 700 that was the equivalent of what Can-Am or Polaris was doing when they built a sport 4x4. They take a sport utility, they strip it down, they stiffen up the shocks, bam, sport 4x4. But really, and if you look at the Scrambler, the Polaris Scrambler, not, the old Scrambler 850 and 1000. The 1000's been gone for a few years in the 48-inch wide variation, but they kept the 850 around. I mean, that's a Sportsman chassis. It's a Sportsman XP chassis, stripped down for a sport 4x4. Renegade, same thing to Outlander. What's most exciting about this concept of this new Yamaha is that, Jeff's pointed out, like, he's not seeing a racked version of this thing.
Nope.
The gas is down low in the cradle. The engine is tilted backwards. If you ride a Yamaha Grizzly, and I'll give Yamaha a tremendous amount of credit for this, Yamaha is very good at making machines feel lighter than they are. And they're not building machines that are as heavy as Polaris and Can-Am. Their machines tend to be a little lighter, but they feel even lighter than they are. Like, if you jump a Grizzly 700 a little bit, you can move that bike in the air. I mean, it's still just say 700-pound machine. But when you are in the air, it feels like a 500-pound machine. I mean, you can move that bike because the mass is so centralized that it feels very light. And I think when Jeff's talking about this new platform, what's most exciting to me is like, okay, they're dropping the tank down, they're tilting the engine backwards. Not only, and it's not a utility platform that's been repurposed as a sport 4x4. If it's a true ground up sport 4x4 machine, there's no compromise in that. You're not compromising on taking a tractor and trying to turn it into an Indy car. It's a purpose-built sport 4x4. So the potential for it to be next level, I think, is big.
Yeah, the new drawings on this look like it is brand new from the ground up. The the rear A arms are extended. You know, they're longer. You know, almost like I don't know exactly what the term is you would use for this. Kind of like a cross between a trailing arm and an A arm. It's still an A arm, but like the Can-Am, front and rear A arms have a forward facing attack angle. There's full skid plate protection from nose to tail on this from the factory and the drawings that I'm looking at. And God, what else is there? There's so much about this. I mean, it looks like it's got wide. It probably has up to 12 inches of suspension travel. Ground clearance looks really good. The front A arms are high clearance A arms, which tells me they are definitely looking at the XC crowd for this. It does have power steering, something that big. My money is on the 850 Wolverine engine being in this package. I think they probably listen to those racers that run the 4x4 ATVs that prefer the 850 over the 1000 just for the fatigue factor. And they're probably keeping the weight down so that the power to weight ratio matches what those bigger bore machines are doing.
You know, one thing that I hope Yamaha would do that no one else is doing, and I've been wanting it from Can-Am since I rode the Outlander 700 when we were at that event back in 23, is, you know, the sport 4x4 segment used to be like Wolverine 350, you know, back in the day. Then it turned into a Wolverine 450, which was a straight axle. I think that was a Big Bear, actually, chassis that they repurposed or something like that. Sorry if I got the model wrong. Someone may know better than me. But then you had machines like the Polaris Scrambler 400 two-stroke. You had the Polaris Scrambler 500 four-stroke. These machines were still pretty reasonably priced. And unfortunately, you know, the new Scrambler S, the 55-inch wide Scrambler S, and I'd like to touch on those bikes in a minute because there's a little bit of rumor on those. Not much rumor, but a little bit. You know, the new Scrambler S1000 or that Sportsman S1000, they're 55-inch wide machines. These are $17,000, $18,000 machines.
So let me hold your thought there, Joe. Let me ask you this. Aren't we getting ridiculously priced and out of the range of the normal guy that can buy one of those? Because no offense, if I'm going to go buy something, I mean, the Outlander that I test rode with out there at Can-Am, dude, it's already out of my price range to go buy it.
Well, you know, and that's what I'm touching on is, you know, if Can-Am could deliver us a Outlander 700 XT for, let's just say 10 grand, or they could give us an Outlander 700 DPS in that lower $9,000 price range, you know, take the winch off the XT, give us a little nicer suspension, take the racks off, give us a little, you know, sportier plastic. And there's no reason, excuse, I don't even want to hear it, why Can-Am couldn't give us a Renegade 700, you know, for the average guy to go get a sport 4x4 to just go have fun with for that $10,000 price range. And what I'm hoping, based upon, you know, my conversations with Jeff, where he's seen, you know, the parallel twin Yamaha engines in this thing, plus he's seen what looks like the 686 top end out of the Raptor Grizzly 700. I hope, you know, if Yamaha comes with a big twin, I think it's going to be just like Polaris and Can-Am. I don't know how it couldn't be, where it's going to be in that $15,000 to $17,000 price range. I mean, I don't know how else they could do it. And Yamaha said years ago they'd never do a big bore twin because the market was too small and the price was too high. Well, the market was too small because the price was too high, and you're just splitting a small segment. Now, I would hope that if Yamaha comes with a twin, that they also come with a 686 single powered version of it, to where they could have it at an approachable price point for the average enthusiast. Because, you know, while I think we're all on here, we're all excited about any new movement, new competition, new models in the ride-on segment. The ride-on segment should not be butting up against the entry-level point for a high-performance caged vehicle.
But it is.
Right, it is. So I'm hoping that Yamaha will come with a single cylinder version of this that's maybe a little stripped down, that's, you know, something that the blue collar guy can afford to buy that's younger. I'm hoping they don't just drop a $17,000 machine. They also come with more like an $11,000 machine, something that's, you know, more in that bougie mountain bike price.
Let me ask you this
Yeah,
question.
and
Go ahead,
I was
Jeff.
just going to say, the drawings are out there that suggest that there is a stripped down, smaller displacement version of the same machine.
Good. Let me ask you this. Why the Outlander first and not the Renegade?
Bigger
Uh,
audience.
yeah, I was going to say, Jeff, you want to go first?
Yeah, the Outlander, you know, for ranch use, it's just a far bigger audience of consumers there versus a sport 4x4. It's pretty much all about trail riding and to a lesser degree competition.
So you think the Renegade's not going to be purchased by somebody that's going to go trail riding and enjoying, you know, it's a competition based machine only?
No, I think it will be big for the trail riders. You know, the guys that like adrenaline, fast trail riding, definitely for that. I'm just saying that the Outlander appeals to that same audience, plus your ranchers, your property owners, and you know, there's just a hunters. You know, you can do all of that with that same machine. You got your racks, you got your hitch. I think the Renegade does have a rear rack, doesn't it? And a
No.
hitch versus
I mean,
no, it doesn't have any.
it's got a little
Same thing.
pad that you can put
Strap a
like a
jacket
little,
too. Yeah. Yeah, the
yeah, it's
Scrambler
got,
same way. It's just a broader audience. It only makes sense that they would come out with the one that appeals to more people.
we did a shootout a few years ago between, you know, when we're still on the Gen 2 Plus, which was the, you know, the widened out version of the Gen 2 chassis when they took it to 48 inches from 46. You know, we did a head to head comparison between the Outlander 1000 XTP and a Renegade 1000. And you know, we drag raced them. They were very close. They were very close. So you're not giving up much in performance on the Outlander, even though it weighs, say, 100 pounds more. It doesn't make that much big a difference in how fast you can go in a straight line. You know, the suspension was a little softer. It had racks. The guys that I filmed it with, you know, Chad Westcott and his buddy Brent, they both kind of felt like they'd probably end up buying the Outlander if they were going to buy one of the two machines. Because, like Jeff said, besides, you know, you can go camping on the thing. You can strap a tent and a cooler to it and go out in the woods for a few days. You can go hunt with it. You can work around the house. But even beyond that, just as a trail machine, you know, 4x4s are great, you know, when you live in an area where you have seasons like we do here in Southern Ohio. Like right now, we're heading into fall. The leaves are coming down. Soon it's going to be getting really wet and cold and nasty. And the Outlanders offer a lot more protection from mud than the Renegades do. And that's a big factor back here in the East where you have seasons.
Well, Jeff lives in Arizona where the hellfires are on, you know, 80% of the year, and then they just turn the fire down a little bit, you know, for the rest of the season, you know, so that it's warm, not blazing.
We still get out and ride. We just do it at 4 in the morning.
Right, right.
I think it's interesting though. I have a feeling when Can-Am developed that Gen 3 frame, because Can-Am told us basically I think it was Can-Am that told us this. I know Jeff passed the information to me. Like the Gen 3 frame from the 1000 to the 700 is like the same frame, like
Yeah.
same part number.
Same part number, 500, 700, 850, 1000. The frame is the same.
I think when Can-Am developed that chassis from day one, they probably realized you know, I'm sure they knew like this is going to be our new 1000 platform, you know, our big bore platform. They knew it. And I'm sure they did some extensive testing in-house, but I think while they would never admit it and we'd never ask, I think they're being a little methodical in how they roll it out. I mean, you have this new frame, it's unproven. you're building it for a 1000, put it out 2 years early in the 500 and 700. Make sure it holds up in that before you drop it into your new big bore. Because, Can-Am and Polaris have both through the years been battling a reputation for being a little bit underbuilt, and that's easy when you build the most powerful machines on the market. You're going to break more things. So it's easy to develop a reputation for breaking when you build the most powerful things on the planet, and you're going off road and running into things with all that horsepower and weight. But I think, maybe Can-Am rolled that frame out in that smaller engine configuration to prove it out. Like, okay, we're not getting failures. We're not getting braking. Roll it into the Outlander, okay, if it lives and it lasts good and it holds up in the Outlander, roll it into the Renegade where it's going to be ridden the hardest. I mean, it seems like they might also just be doing incremental steps to prove the platform out in case they need to make any changes along the way. Again, I don't think they'd ever admit that, but it makes good logical sense.
I don't exactly know. I just hope that Yamaha comes out with that competitive machine, because I don't think the Polaris line is competitive with the Can-Am based on what I've seen in a world where I would ride it. Not in, maybe you could take them out to the sand dunes, which we're trying to get one of the Outlanders to go out and play with it in the sand, because I know they've taken the Polaris unit out there, the 55-inch unit, out into the dunes and ridden it, and they say they enjoy it. Well, I want to get that Outlander out there with some sand tires on it and see what it's going to do to change the perception that you can't ride a 4x4 in the dunes, which you guys know we can. So
yeah,
if
we have.
And on the West Coast, the Yamaha is going to be more favorable than your Can-Am or your Polaris.
Why?
I think that more people like that brand. The brand name is more favorable on the West Coast than the Can-Am and Polaris. They don't have the same, everything's regional, right? I don't think Can-Am and Polaris have a good name on the West.
I think it's kind of global. I don't think that's just a West Coast, East Coast thing. I think that's kind of universal, that people feel like the Japanese manufacturers typically build with a little better quality. And there might be some truth to that in ways. And especially at certain points in time, I feel like, Can-Am and Polaris are both working very hard to change that perception. And I think they're working very hard to improve their machines. Especially Can-Am with this new machine. They keep stepping it up. They keep refining it. Can-Am in the beginning seemed like they were always trying to be different. Now it seems like Can-Am has shifted their attention to stop. Like, let's not just be different. Let's just try to be better. And so I think that perception may change over time. I hope, hopefully
with my conversations with the team that they had there, I believe that quality is what they're really looking for. They're really trying to build a better machine that's going to live longer in the consumer's garage so that they can build that reputation of having a better machine. No offense, I don't think Polaris has ever gave a crap about quality. They're just trying to produce machines and make money. And I don't see any portion of it where they're upping the quality when you put your machines together with sheet metal screws and offsite hardware with American and metric. And it's just, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just not a huge fan of the way Polaris does things. So we'll just leave it at that with them. The Yamaha and Honda and Kawasaki and Suzuki manufacturers, Honda and Yamaha have always been top notch with everything they've built. I mean, every once in a while they miss with a certain model, but they make up for it with everything else they build. Look at their quality of their dirt bikes. Yamaha and Honda have always built the best motorcycles available. So
yeah.
That's just my perspective of working on them. Joe, I know that you've dealt with Can-Am and Polaris more, same with you, Jeff, than I have. But the amount of Polaris work that I've done is it's just not very good.
Well, I think, I can't dispute a lot of what you've said, especially, you know, I'll give credit to Polaris where it's due. We had the last version of the, Razor XP 1000, which now they just call the Razor XP. I don't know why these companies feel the need to change names. It's kind of stupid. Um, it's like Honda changing the name of the Honda Accord. But anyway, I think on the Razor side, it seems like Polaris is putting in an effort to improve things. The last Razor XP 1000 we had, there were no squeaks coming out of it. It was quiet. The doors were nice. The interior was better. I mean, you can see in areas where they're making improvements, but then, you point out the Scrambler S. You point out, well, you didn't, but I will. I was talking to Jeff and he's like, I put a winch on the Scrambler S. Actually, true story here. We'll just lay it out. We had a Scrambler S in for testing, and we got Jeff's old unit. Jeff put a winch on a Scrambler S1000 and put the bumper back on and told me, Jeff, please correct me if I misspeak, but like the bumper, it's a steel bumper. I mean, I haven't felt it, but I'm guessing it weighs like 40 pounds and it's held on by self-tapping screws.
Self-tapping screws, yeah. I mean, they're with a point on the end, and the steel, you have to be very careful or you'll strip them out. And I think one was just about there when we put it back together.
Yeah, we told
an almost $18,000 machine, I would expect better quality than that.
Right. Well, that just backs up everything I was just saying. You're not getting a machine from Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki like that. It's just not going to come that way.
No.
Maybe.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, Lenny.
So let's touch on this last thing before we close out for today. YFZ 450R. We have a new suspension setup from Roll Design. Jeff, have you gotten to ride that machine at all?
No, I haven't, because I went to a Kawasaki press intro for the Brute Force 450 last week. And now we're coming up on our editorial deadline, so it's probably going to be a week from now before I get to throw a leg over that. Wow. So I can't wait though. I know it's very difficult. It's hard because this thing looks killer. Lenny, thank you so much for helping me put that machine together too.
Wait a second. Can we clarify that? Helping you?
Well, yeah. Thank you for putting it together while I took pictures.
Just wanted to be.
It's not my choice, so I try to help him out, and he goes, "Don't touch my machine." So yeah, he's very particular about how things go together. He's very all over, torque settings and everything else. I'm very appreciative of what you helping us out with this project. Not only once, but twice.
I mean, one of the things that I took note of what you said to me is we were talking about, if you did it in your garage versus me doing it. And I'm not tooting any horns here. I'm just talking about the different ways we do it. And that final hour when we were setting the machine up, you were kind of watching me going, it really takes this long to do the final setup. Well, if you want it correct, it does.
Right.
It's measuring the toe and setting the camber. I mean, you just have to take the time to make sure it's right.
Yeah. And you've done so many more of these than I have. And what took you just a day to put together would have taken me 3 days. And I probably wouldn't have gotten it as precise as you do. And especially you have the knowledge of setting up and aligning the front end, compared to, I know everybody has their differences on how to do that. But I would have been, that would have taken up the full day of my time just getting that correct by myself.
We put some little pieces from DBR on there that, I haven't had a chance to call him yet and talk to him about what he was thinking with that. But the cable holder, I mean, it was just, we're getting away from what I wanted to say. That system from Roll just went together so nice. It just bolted together. Everything fit.
Yeah.
Everything was exactly the way Jed said it was going to be when I talked to him on the phone. No, I didn't get to talk to Doug Roll about it, but I only got to talk to Jed, and it just bolted together perfect. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Slides right in.
I was just hoping that you had gotten a chance to go ride it through the bumps to get an idea how it felt.
Yeah. No, next podcast.
All right, all right.
And then, yeah, and I will say, I never once saw you pull a mallet out and start beating on things or anything like that. It did. It went together first time, just perfect.
I don't
Yeah,
even think I
good
didn't even put a plastic
tutorial
mallet
lesson.
out at all.
Yeah.
It's just slid in finger by finger.
Yep.
Sorry, Joe, I
Yep.
cut you off.
Oh no, I was just going to say a good editorial lesson for you is you can't take the bike out and ride it until you photograph it.
Right.
You gotta take that thing out in some golden time, golden light, get some beautiful pictures of it with all that new stuff before you scratch it.
Right.
That's too late. Jeff already went out and got it dirty, brought it back to me semi-clean, which was, I would have to say, my biggest complaint was it came back to me semi-clean.
I took the whole thing apart and polished it, and I
Not
knew he
even
was going to
close.
complain.
Not even
Oh,
close.
come on. It had to be better than 95% of the machines that you get
That's not the point.
in.
No, it was cleaner than most of the stuff that I do get to work on, but still we were definitely testing that new setup, and Roll Design trusted me to put it together for you. I appreciate that from them.
Yeah.
Like I said, it went together great. So if anybody's questioning, I don't even think that Roll has released that they have those items for sale yet.
Yeah, they did a lot of it's not this machine does not have just off the shelf Elka shocks on it. They actually do a lot with the valving and the springs. There's a lot of machine work that Roll does on them to make them. This machine is supposed to be like the top Yamaha that's running with the work series. We went with a work setup that'll be great for dunes, desert. And if you guys ever get a chance to go out to Roll, say you're going to buy something, have Jed or Doug give you the tour of the facility, because it's not just this little place. It's pretty high tech and amazing. I got to see the original jig for the Lobo 250R that's sitting there. That it actually has notches in it for every Lobo that jig has ever produced, and there was quite a few notches in it, and he said it's actually off by 5, 6, 7 machines. They didn't start making the marks until later on, as they got into it, but it was very educational what all they do with the suspension there. It's a huge operation.
ATV-TALK will be going on the road to Roll Design at some point this year, and we'll be doing a segment with them.
Yeah, I would say one thing that amazed me is the oil, how it goes in the shocks. It is not done by hand. This is all a pump machine process that eliminates any air that gets in there, which is the biggest thing that hampers gas, charged shocks. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. Joe, I'm waiting for you to show up with a machine so that I can work on it for you as well.
I'm hoping to have you an 87 250R by the end of the year.
Nice. That'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, you will have to come to San Diego to film the work. You do realize that.
The assembly shirt.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Gentlemen, I want to thank you guys so much. Thank Elka Suspension for bringing these shows to you. Antelope Slot Canyon Tours for all they do for ATV-TALK. The Blunt family and Craig Christie. Hey, thank you guys so much. Everybody, if you have not subscribed to ATV On Demand, you need to run out and do that today. UTV On Demand as well. There's always a new video up from Joe or some information that you can get. Hey, and if you haven't got your Dirt Wheels magazine yet, Jeff Henson is the guy. He will make sure that happens for you. Kane Smead as well. So get your subscriptions into Dirt Wheels. Gentlemen, thank you so much for an amazing show, and I appreciate it. We will see you here next time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Lenny. Have a good Sunday.
Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys later.